If something is observable, that means it's changing. If it is not changing, it's not an action. If it is not an action, we are unable to perceive it by our sense organs. So the knower or the knowing faculty has to be different than the action that we are able to perceive by our sense organs. So let's take a look at the slide to understand this phenomena. So this is a cup that I'm holding, and I'm just showing this picture to explain the situation that I want to discuss with you. So I'm just looking at the cup. So this whole picture, if we consider the whole picture, that particular area or the volume, that represents only action, because whatever we observe at at that area or at that volume is nothing but action. The air, the solid objects, the bed, me sitting on the bed holding the cup, the color, the space pervading that space, that volume, all those are observable because they are actions. And anything that is action has to be changing all the time, otherwise it's not action, or otherwise we cannot perceive it if it is not changing. To observe anything, it has to be an action which is in constant change. If it is not changing, we won't be able to perceive it. And the opposite is true for the observer or the perceiver. It has to be constantly unchanged, otherwise it won't be able to perceive the change. So to perceive the change, to perceive any action which is constant change, it's not like it's changing one time and on time it's not changing. Whatever we observe in the surroundings, it's a constant flux of change. It's There is not a single moment when the change is stopped. Okay, that's why we perceive the whole universe in front of us. Otherwise, it will vanish. That's as simple as that. Just contemplate on this, and you will understand what I'm trying to say. Understand it, reason it out. Okay. And the same is true for the knower who is knowing all these changes. To know any change, the knower has to be in the unchanging condition, right? If it is changing like the action, then it won't be able to perceive the change. Right? This is as simple as that. So there is an agent which is perceiving all the changes. For example, our sense organs. Our sense organs is not changing. It's observing all the changes that we are perceiving outside, like different colors. One color is changing into some other color when it's interacting with surrounding energy, like that. So our sense organs, which are the parts of the consciousness, they are experiencing the diverse change that is happening throughout the surroundings. So that's an important thing to know, to remember. And for us, we use our body to engage in all sorts of actions or interactions with the universe, with the universe. And why that is important, that interaction? Because through interaction, whenever we create any interaction, let's say I'm discussing with you, so I'm developing an information or an explanation that I am discussing with you. What the hell I'm doing, I don't know, but I'm giving it a name or giving it an explanation that I am discussing with this topic with you, right? So like that, we project our explanation to all the actions that is happening outside us. Just focus what I'm trying to say. This is very important. Right now, my body is interacting through this video with you, and I'm saying that I'm discussing or interacting with you. Now tell me one thing. I'm discussing with you. Is this the truth, or I'm saying that I'm discussing with you, or you are accepting this explanation that that guy is interacting with me? Be honest. Be honest. Just go through the facts. Don't laugh it out. This is the only thing that you need to understand. If you understand this, everything will be crystal clear. Okay? So we are projecting our explanations, and our body is the instrument for us which enables us to engage in diverse actions with the surroundings. And whenever we are engaging with any actions, we are giving it a name. Like right now I'm discussing with you, I'm giving it a name, that is discussion. I'm writing, I'm giving it a name. This is the action of writing, like that. So body is important for interacting with the universe, the surrounding universe. And then comes the another interesting thing which we discussed a little bit, but let's discuss it again. Our body is nothing but an pile of action, because we have different objects in our body. The five principal objects are the space, air, fire, gas, liquid, and solid. Fire is not present. uh, I mean, it's in the seed form. Whenever you can burn the body, but right now it's not burning, so that is in the hibernated form. So mostly our body is made of those four objects. And then by the way, the color aspect, that is the absorption and emission of the energy which is responsible for the color of any flame, is in the atomic level. So that's atomic absorption that is going on, and followed by emission to produce any color in a flame. Atomic absorption followed by emission. But the same phenomena, that is absorption followed by emission, is happening in our body throughout the different objects that we are seeing, but that is in the molecular level. So that is molecular level absorption followed by emission. So what is absorption and emission? That's a different topic. I mean, if you are from science background, you will know it more clearly, but I can just give you a hint. So let's say the object is absorbing some light. When the light is falling upon it, it will take some energy. Other, it will reflect from the surface, and the amount that it is taking, it will excite itself to the higher excited state, and then it will again come to the lower excited state. When it is coming to the lower state, it will emit the excess energy as a different form of energy, and we call it light, but we don't know what it is anyway. So that's the absorption followed by the emission that is going on. So when it is happening in the atomic level, we call it fire, because during the burning of anything, the temperature is so high that the molecules are disintegrated to its constituent atoms, and those atoms are basically exhibiting this absorption followed by emission phenomena. But for right now, you're seeing me, or you can see your own hands. There, the same phenomena is going on in the molecular level. Okay, that's another fact, by the way. Okay, so an action, I mean, if we consider the second point, an action cannot know itself because it is ever changing. This we already discussed, right? Since anything that we can perceive has to change, and we perceive whatever we perceive, we call it an action. So an action has to be an ever-changing phenomena, and the agent or the faculty or whatever you name it, the thing that is knowing that changing, ever-changing phenomena in the universe has to be ever unchanging, right? Otherwise, it will not be able to observe the changes. That's another fact. So the knowing faculty, or the knowing ability, let's say, the knowing ability has to be different from the actions that we are perceiving. And the actions that we are perceiving, it includes our body, from the brain to the nerve to the every part of our body. And that includes also thoughts. We perceive thoughts are nothing but actions. We will deal with mind, what is mind, and all those stuffs. But yeah, so let's go factually, one by one. So the next important point is without change, there won't be any observation. We already discussed it. And without change, there will be no action. I mean, these points are helpful to make it like a summary of the discussions that we are going through, because if I just speak in front of you, it will be like uh, if you miss any point, then it will be completely out of your mind. So I'm just making the whole discussion in a compressed manner, in a point wise. So at any point of time, you can take a look on the earlier things that we discussed. So that's why just a list of discussions that we are covering in this discussion. And the fifth aspect or the fifth point is the same that we already discussed. So the knower has to be different than the action, because the action is ever changing and the knower is never changing. It cannot change. And the action consists of our body, because our body is an object. Whatever is an object is an action. An action, by very definition, it has to be ever changing. And also we know our body is ever changing, so there is no denial of that fact. And that is true for the brain as well. The brain is interacting now. Right now I'm interacting in this video. My brain is interacting with you. It's already engaged in action. And if something is engaged in action, it is not different from that action, because it's already started changing. Otherwise it cannot engage in action. Something is engaged in action. What does that mean? It started changing. Without changing, it cannot interact, right? Use the brain power. You have a lot of brain power. If you just contemplate on these things, you can just make the breakthrough, and that's the most important thing. So we cannot call that uh, our brain is creating uh, the consciousness thing, or mm, I mean the ability to observe, because the brain itself is changing all the time, in the molecular level, in the atomic level, in the subatomic level. It's always changing. So anything that is in constant change, that is an action, cannot produce anything. It can just change into something else. It cannot produce anything. You see, this is very subtle. An action cannot produce anything, because by the very definition, it is the ever-changing phenomena. And what is ever-changing, it cannot create anything new. We think it is creating, because that is our thought. And whatever is we are thinking, it's just our own projection on that action that we are perceiving. It's so beautiful. It's it's very, very beautiful thing. Just contemplate on these things. Don't worry, there will be more videos which will deal on all the details of how to look at the surroundings, or how to look at on any object. This is a very, very, very interesting thing. Okay, so for for any explanation, we introduced the term energy. I mean, if you saw my earlier videos, you can see that how we introduced the term energy, because for any action, our very instinct says there has to be some cause or some reason for that action to take place, right? And we introduced the term energy, which we think as a cause for all the changes that is happening surrounding us. And I'm not saying it's true or false, but I'm just saying that energy is unknowable, because what is knowable is the actions that we are perceiving. We can say it's light. We don't know what is light, but we definitely know there is something which is enabling us to see the colors, right? We can only perceive the colors. We cannot perceive the light. We are saying that there has to be something which is called light. The concept of light is introduced by us. What it is, it's unknowable. The same thing is for object. We say that this is our body, this is the cup, but we can just objectify the action that we are perceiving. So the cup that I'm holding in my hand is a bunch of actions. The shape of the cup is preserved by different molecular actions. The gathering or the adhesive forces are acting to hold the shape for a long time. But if you apply any pressure, it will break. So you can change its shape. So it's constantly struggling to preserve the shape. And for that, different forces or different actions are also working actively, constantly. If it is not, then there will be no color as well. We see the color, right, all the time. Uh, so for seeing the color, there has to be constant absorption emission. There has to be constant scattering or reflection or whatever phenomena is there. So just if we consider the curve, to perceive it, there has to be constant action. If the action stops, the cup will just vanish. It is as simple as that. So the cup is preserved, the form of the cup is preserved because there is constant action is going on to hold the cup in that particular shape. And we are saying that that particular shape with a name cup as an object. We don't know what the object is. We are saying it as an object. We can only perceive the color, the feel when we touch it, the touch sensations, etc. But we are objectifying it based on the sense perceptions that we are having for that particular actions. This is also a fact that object cannot be known, as the energy also cannot be known. And the same is for the consciousness. We won't be able to know what consciousness is actually. It is also unknowable. uh, and the another important thing is actions cannot produce consciousness, because whatever is changing, it's changing into something else. That something else will change into something else. So it's a ever changing phenomena that is going on, that cannot produce anything which is unchanged. Because consciousness, by very definition or by very experience, forget about definition is something that we impose. So we are experiencing that we are always observing the changes. So the agent that is observing the changes, that is not changing, that has to be ever unchanged, and that is called the consciousness. We are saying it as consciousness, but we don't know what it is. We won't be able to know what it is. So these three things, or these three superimpositions, let's say the energy, the object, and the consciousness, we won't be able to know what they are, but we definitely know that there are something that is basically responsible for all the actions that we are observing. And that is also our thought. We think that there has to be something. But one thing is very sure, that is, there is the actions that is going on, and there is an agency which is basically observing all those actions. So consciousness aspect and the action aspect is the higher level of reality. No one can deny it, right? So far we can come to the conclusion that consciousness has to be there. You can call it by any name, which is basically the ability to perceive the changes, and the changes itself, they are called as action. So action and consciousness, these two things are there for now. We will go deep, how the other things are related to this. And there is also the most important thing, which is the awareness. We will come to that, what is awareness, and the other things.